Hello, I'm Pastor Jake. I want to welcome you to a quick ministry minute. We're dealing with the church and the characteristics of a healthy church. The next characteristic that I want to list for you, to me, is a close one to my heart. I know the impact this one has had on my life personally, and how God has used this one to help me impact the lives of others. And so the next characteristic that I want to list for you is that of discipleship. A healthy church will have that as one of their characteristics. The Bible says in Matthew chapter 28, when Jesus is giving the Great Commission to his disciples, he was looking at them and saying to them, look, go into all the world. You're going to preach the gospel all over the world, all nations, baptizing them, teaching them. Observe all things I've commanded you, and this is what's going to happen. These are the signs. You're going to have power. You're going to have authority, and this is the commission. But I want you to go and make disciples of all nations, of all people, and teach them to observe all things that I have taught you. This is important. This is an important characteristic because I think a lot of this gets lost in translation through what we've just accepted or embraced as the idea of discipleship in Western church. It's this mentality of discipleship equating to you having enough of the right teachings. If it's a Sunday morning school classroom setting, that's you being taught something. That's not you being discipled. Discipleship deals more with a teacher and a student and an intentional relationship of the student to grow and be like the teacher or surpass even the teacher. But Jesus was very clear. This is what discipleship is. It starts with you going. I've already told you what the last characteristics of a healthy church would be, and it was that of evangelism. That covers the go into all the world. That's the evangelism part, because you can't make a disciple if you're not evangelizing. If you're not going, don't expect to have disciples. When you get a disciple, it's an intentional relationship of pouring into somebody that looks to you as a mentor, is how the world would interpret someone who's that teacher pouring into someone. But really, that's a discipling relationship, which means there is time invested with people and how you walk with them. Enough time for them to be able to absorb and observe. Jesus said, teach them to observe. How can you observe something without close proximity? It's why we use a magnifying glass when we're trying to look at things. When it comes to science and biology and chemistry, we're using things to magnify stuff because there are certain things that we just can't see with our eye. But when we've got something that can magnify it, it's easier to deal with it. But when we don't have someone that can laser focused, look at us and speak, this is the situation. And I know you get it because you've watched me walk in that. I mean, some of the most powerful testimonies, which have also been some of the most humbling ones, but have put a reverence in me about what we're talking about. One of the most powerful testimonies I've ever heard as a pastor from someone that I had pastored. So he looked at me and said, man, I love you, Pastor. You know I love the way you preach and the way you teach, and you keep it real and you tell it how it is. But man, if you asked me over the years and the years that I've walked with you, what's my favorite message that I've ever spoken, I wouldn't be able to tell you. He said, he was like, that doesn't mean you're not a good preacher. He said, the thing that stands out to me most is you being there for me at 3 o'clock in the morning when I needed someone to observe, someone to absorb, someone to walk with. That's discipleship. And to me, that's why this is worthy of putting on that list of the characteristics of a healthy church.